Welcome to Broad Gadgets and Green Thumbs. We're going to be discussing the digital agriculture revolution and navigating it with faith. And I'd love to ask, just to start off, is anyone in the call currently involved in the agriculture industry? Awesome. Okay, great. So it looks like we have one yes today, and that's perfect. My goal today is to educate you on emerging agricultural technologies, so this is perfect, and to showcase some powerful examples of Christians using these technologies to positively impact people and the planet, and then to offer some takeaways and ideas for how you can navigate this revolution with faith. And we'll have 30 minutes together, so my goal is to talk for a little under 26 minutes and then have some discussion and Q&A for the last little bit of the session. If you're watching on a computer or a tablet, you may want to have your phone handy as well, because I'm going to show several QR codes during the presentation that you can optionally scan. And I've pasted the links to that in the chat as well, just in case you don't have access to a QR code scanner. But these will allow you to interact with some of the fun technologies we're going to talk about. And I think it just makes it more engaging and interactive for you if you get to experience it instead of just hear me talk about it. So I wanted to start with an introduction, because when I attend any presentation, I always want to know, why is this person qualified to talk to me about this? So just a little about my background. I'm Jordan, and I'm a Ph.D. student here at Liberty. I've been conducting research and writing about agribusiness, environmental communications, and climate technology for the last 5 years. And I've written numerous papers on green innovation and faith-based agribusiness. I recently wrote a paper about AI in agriculture that will hopefully be published in 2024. And in that paper, I examined all the literature published about AI and machine learning in Virginia and West Virginia agriculture since 2010, which is quite a mouthful. And you can see my Prisma flowchart here on the left from that paper. I'm also, as I said, currently a PhD student, and my research focuses on cyborg botany, which I'll talk about later, emerging information communication technologies, and human-computer interaction. I've also worked at the American Chestnut Foundation, the Atlanta Community Food Bank Garden Program, and volunteered on dozens of farms and urban garden projects. So I have more than just the academic side of things. I also have quite a bit of experience working with my hands in the dirt and seeing agriculture up close. So that's enough of that. Let's jump into the content. So for those who are new to this topic or don't know that much about agriculture or its history, I wanted to give a little context. And I'll start by noting that agricultural innovation has been happening since the inception of farming, and there have been numerous agricultural revolutions throughout the years. The digital agriculture revolution, as I'm calling it, is one in a long history. The agricultural sector, which includes everything from crop farming to raising animals to harvesting timber, according to the EPA, has a long history with technology and innovation, which is what this conference is all about. And although we don't necessarily think about them this way now, items like hand tools, plows, and wheelbarrows are some of the earliest examples of innovation. These are what Eldert Van Hent, a professor of biosystems engineering and farm technology, calls low-tech mechanization. And all of this low-tech mechanization eventually led to some major developments during the agricultural revolution in 18th century Britain, such as the development of mechanical sowers and succession cropping. Also, I thought this was so cool. Archaeological and paleographical records reveal other examples of innovation in horticulture and phytomedicines even earlier throughout ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece. God has also used agriculture to teach valuable lessons since ancient times and to bless his people. Farming itself is an act of faith. You plant a crop and you have faith it will become food to nourish you. You care for your livestock and you have faith that they will provide you with milk or eggs. You plant a mustard seed and you have faith it will become a flourishing tree. Farming is a really great way to deepen your faith overall. God also talks about farming as far back as Deuteronomy, which was likely written around 630 BC. In Deuteronomy 28:8, it says, "The Lord will send a blessing on your barns and on everything you put your hand to. The Lord your God will bless you in the land. The Lord will open the heavens, the storehouse of his bounty, to send rain on your land in season, and to bless all the work of your hands. You will lend to many nations, but will borrow from none." Later in Job 12, likely written around 540 BC, it says, "But ask the animals what they think. Let them teach you. Let the birds tell you what's going on. Put your ear to the earth. Learn the basics. Listen, the fish in the ocean will tell you their stories. Isn't it clear that they all know and agree that God is sovereign, that he holds all of the earth in his hand?" And lastly, in Joel 2, which was written around 400 BC, it says, "The threshing places will be full of grain. The pits beside the presses will overflow with wine and olive oil." So returning to the present, I believe there is a new agricultural revolution happening right now, and I believe God has lots to teach us through it. However, instead of low-tech mechanization, this one is driven by the internet, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and drones. Now, as you can probably imagine, technology like this is steadily widening the gap between farmers. A farmer that can check soil water levels using his phone, which I'll discuss later, is going to be way more productive than someone who has to check the water levels in person or manually. And as we all know, business and innovation are all about who can do the best job for the cheapest cost and the fastest. As new agricultural technology gets more affordable and fast, farmers who don't keep up with it are going to be put out of business. And this is a byproduct of the creative destruction process that happens during any technological revolution. If you don't know what that is, I have a handy graphic to show you. Creative destruction is an economic business principle that essentially describes a process in which new innovations replace and make obsolete older methods and tools. You can see it demonstrated here with the modern television, and I thought this graphic was really cool. So of course, if you have this television, you're never going to go back to the old one. That's a sample of creative destruction. In the future, I believe that creative destruction could lead to many farmers using agricultural technology, maybe even VR, to monitor the temperature, humidity, and soil pH of their farm. So with that history kind of talked about and completed, I wanted to jump in and show you some of the amazing agricultural technologies that have been developed in the last few years. But keep in mind, I can only show you some of the highlights since there are thousands of ag technologies out there. The first technology is, of course, the internet. Besides being able to Google any farm issue you could ever think of, see everything published on agriculture from human history, and even get r/farming on Reddit to help you identify the breed of a cow, the internet also has specific agricultural websites that are treasure troves for farmers. And if you're dying to know the answer to what breed of cow that is, you can scan that with the QR code or click the link. Does anyone know or want to guess what the first agriculture-specific website was? Department of Agriculture. Not quite. It's actually very simple. It's called agriculture.com. And it was the first website dedicated to agriculture, created in 1995. And you can see it in all of its 1995 glory right here. Today, though, there are hundreds of thousands of agricultural websites with information about local crop cycle rotations, innovation in agriculture technology, agricultural conference listings, and more. The second important ag tech innovation is the Internet of Things that I mentioned earlier. This is a network constructed of internet-enabled objects that communicate with each other and transmit data to the cloud. Then the data is aggregated in a way that allows the user to interact with it. And I have a short video clip I'm going to attempt to play. Hopefully it will work. And this explains it way better than I can. If it doesn't play, then I'll do my best.
You'll have to give us the link to that video too. We couldn't hear it, but we could see it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay,
No, no, it's
apologies.
okay. We could still
Um,
see it though, but no, it's good.
Thank you for letting me know. So it basically just describes IoT in simple language and talks about how it connects different aspects of the farm. So you could even monitor your fences, you could monitor your tractors, that sort of thing. So IoT is one of the biggest new ag technologies, which is why I wanted to show you a video on it so that you can hear it. But I'll make sure I send the link. And it's currently used by 10% to 15% of US farmers to help run their farms. And the number continues to grow. And you can poke around a sample farm IoT dashboard if you would like to by scanning this QR code. Here's what the dashboard looks like. It provides lots of helpful data and graphs so that farmers can stay involved with their farm even when they're on the go. And you can feel free to go around and mess with it yourself if you'd like to. I found it really interesting. The third technological innovation I wanted to discuss is drones used for agriculture. So remote sensing with drones can help farmers monitor landscapes, individual plants and animals, and their various stressors. Remotely sensed images can be later assessed to analyze plant health, weed infestations, insect damage, wind damage, herbicide damage, and also monitor plant populations in general. Drones enhanced with AI can also identify plants and trees in the forest, as well as track and identify plant diseases. There was some fascinating research from Virginia Tech in 2020 on bio-inspired sonar sensing using a drone equipped with AI for land inspection. Essentially, the drone emits sounds like a bat and uses echolocation to map its surroundings and inspect the land. The fourth agricultural innovation that I wanted to share is aeroecology, or the use of migratory tracking radar. I learned more about this summer in a course from the University of Leeds on exploring biodiversity with radar. And this technology is so cool. It allows farmers to predict when insect swarms or colonies of birds might fly over their fields and prepare accordingly. There are already 158 weather radars in the US, and the data from them can actually be repurposed to supply insect and bird data patterns. And this can also help with conservation and biodiversity efforts, since farmers can prepare if their farm will host an endangered migratory bird or insect species. And you can scan this QR code to view birdcast in real time and look at it for your area even if you would like to. So fifth is artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence has become something of a buzzword this year, but it's so much more than just a chatbot. It has so many applications to agriculture that there is not enough time to list even a small percentage of them. So instead, here are some of my favorite ones that I studied in my meta-analysis research project. And these are some AI models that can estimate the number of trees in a given area, predict fish populations and locations, predict water stress, and last but not least, predict dairy cow manure temperatures during storage, which is very practical but very funny. Cow manure was apparently too gross for the stock photo library, so you have this nice picture of cupcakes instead. Here are all of the different topics that my research covered. Most of the AI and machine learning was used to enhance crop production. As you can see here, they're organized by how many articles were in the study. And that's followed by forestry, livestock, fish, and farmers. And you can see some of the topics in them. Very interesting stuff. 1 or 2 studies were on big data itself and its impact on farmers, which I found really interesting. My study found 5 significant positive impacts of AI on agriculture in Virginia and West Virginia. And these impacts include improved productivity, enhanced resource utilization, cost reduction, increased environmental sustainability, and human safety. Additionally, the study found that overall adoption of AI and ML, machine learning, facilitated data-driven decision-making. So it allowed farmers and policymakers to make better decisions. And it also defined some barriers or difficulties that are inhibiting greater adoption, including a lack of quality data, infrastructure, or computer requirements, and some regulations. And something really cool about this, and the reason I'm mentioning this research, is because I worked on it with Regent University, which is also a Christian university, and I was able to include biblical applications in my final research project. And it talks about how to handle these barriers to ag tech and to navigate this with an attitude of faith. We saw my study mainly focused on machine learning models and AI that inform data usage, but generative AI also actually has applications for agriculture. To demonstrate, I asked ChatGPT to help me come up with some ways to handle an infestation of a common corn fungus called Fusarium stalk rot. And I was curious if it would offer pat answers, like just buy resistant varieties of corn, or if it would recommend tilling, which many farmers are actually trying to move away from. But I was really impressed. It did a really good job, and it even warned me that there was no silver bullet answer, and it provided some really great alternatives to tilling, which it gets to, I believe, next, and I thought that was wonderful. It also offered a no-tilling option, which was really exciting because that's healthier for the soil long term. And you can see that here a little bit. And lastly, for the sixth technology, I have to mention cyborg botany because that's one of my primary research interests in my PhD. For those who don't know, cyborg botany combines biology and technology, melding organic plants with electronic elements. So this is done by connecting electrodes to key spots on plants like the Venus flytrap that have a biological motion mechanism, so they close when an insect lands on them, or by growing a conductive wire inside of the plant by sitting it in a water-soluble polymer. So this could include plants like the ones on the top left that senses motion and moves on command, or it could be a plant like the one on the top right that drives itself towards light, which is really, really neat. The technology company Bayu in Spain has also come up with some innovative cyborg botany applications using plants as light switches and batteries. Their biological batteries collect electrons by breaking down organic substances in the ground. And right now the technology is too expensive, but in the future this could be invaluable for agribusiness. It could increase agricultural production by creating a huge market for plants that are currently low demand, and it could also change the electricity and power industry forever. I did have a video showcasing the Bayou plant switch where they play music as you tap, but I'm assuming you won't be able to hear this sound either, so I apologize for that. So this technology has many applications, obviously really cool ones like the music one where you just tap on a plant and it makes noise. They call it a plant piano, but it would also be really cool if farmers could send notifications by tapping a plant, like in this demonstration from the MIT Cyborg Botany Lab. So this was a lot of different technologies that I just shared, and it's only a small slice of the pie. And I know all of this new stuff can feel overwhelming, but I think it's also really exciting. And a lot of even the small gardens that I work at are incorporating smart farming technology, drones, and predictive modeling to improve their productivity. With all of this change, I genuinely think that education and agricultural extension programs are more important now than ever. And I try to have a posture of prayer and ask God to guide me as I navigate these changes. I'm always asking Him for guidance and understanding as I learn more about new opportunities or agricultural technologies. And I think Christians are very needed in this space to help guide the ethics and development of these technologies. So that's the long section of the presentation, but now I want to show you just a couple of Christian organizations that are navigating this technical revolution with faith. And these organizations are spearheading innovation and technology in agriculture for the betterment of the planet and people's lives and souls. And I want to note that none of this is sponsored. I just want to show you some real-world examples of how faith and technology can benefit people. This first organization, ECHO, has published more than 50 hours of tailored ag training resources in multiple languages, and they share them with some of the poorest countries in the world. In 2022, they trained 8,231 individuals in sustainable agriculture technology and also in biblical themes. And they specifically try to provide innovative technologies to farmers who otherwise wouldn't have access, and they focus on training local leaders. So that goes back to one of the presenters earlier who was just talking about how important it is to do ministry in your own space, your own language even. And I thought that was really cool, and that tied in here. And they're working on a lot of things in Africa right now, like a low-cost solar dehydrator that works without a fan, and also a no-till planter that can be affordably built from local materials. And they also share the gospel everywhere they work. So I thought this was a perfect example of combining these elements. The second organization is Dordt University. Dordt is also a Christian university, but it has degree programs in agriculture, biotechnology, and agriculture tech. And it combines Christian faith with cutting-edge science to prepare a new generation of Christian farmers for the digital and technological agriculture landscape. And they facilitate discussion on the role of technology and automation to the future of the industry while teaching servant leadership, discipleship, and biblical knowledge. And they include several different things that I discussed earlier, like drones, IoT technology, insect migration mapping, and more. And lastly, Youth with a Mission, which you probably know as YWAM, has an incredible ag tech ministry that has the desire to see the lost reconciled with God and has magnificent creation through agricultural development programs. And they provide training in agriculture technology and instruction in areas like fruit orchards, grafting, soil conservation, urban farming, beekeeping even, and various types of farm animals and livestock training. They're really innovators in the Christian ministry space. So you've seen how some other Christians are navigating this digital agriculture revolution with faith, but what about you? In this last section, I have some questions for you to ponder and some action step ideas. So here are a few questions for you from today's talk. How can you use technology to glorify God? Where does your life currently intersect with agriculture, like your backyard veggie garden, your diet, and how can you use that to glorify God? Where do you see agricultural technology going in the next 5 to 10 years, and how can you invest in it to make God known and better people and planet? And lastly, if you could, what agricultural technology do you wish you could create? And then I have a few applications as well. First is to continue educating yourself. You're already on the right track listening to this. Attending a webinar like this one can help you stay informed about how agriculture is changing. And we're all impacted by agriculture because we all eat food. And it's important to stay updated on the innovation happening in the industry because the food we eat fuels our brains and our work and allows us to make an impact for Christ. You might also, if you're interested, go see agricultural innovation in action at an experimental farm. There's one in Virginia in Clark County called the Blandy Experimental Farm, and they do tours, and you can see all sorts of stuff like this in action. And then another action step, if you would like, you can also check out my free calendar. It doesn't require anything. It's completely free, no email. I just wanted to provide it as a resource, but it has all of the conservation and agriculture themed days for 2023. So Arbor Day, World Fisheries Day, that sort of thing. And each month it has some fun eco-friendly activities you can do and some trivia facts listed on the side. And in closing, I wanted to share these great Bible verses and quotes from Echo to close out. So the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all his people belong to him. The heavens belong to the Lord, but he has given the earth to all humanity. And they note that the earth is God's property, but it is our responsibility to tend and care for it as stewards of God's creation. And then I just loved this quote they provided from the Radical Disciple. Care for the creation has nothing to do with deification of nature or technology, in this case. On the other hand, it entirely rejects exploitation of the earth. Rather, it focuses on cooperation with God in conserving and nurturing his creation. So I pray that this new technology allows us to continue conserving and nurturing God's creation well as we navigate the digital agriculture revolution with faith. Thank you, and I'll click back to the questions. I would love for you to share some answers in the chat or even unmute and share some out loud.
Hey, Jordan. I wanted to answer your question about how we can glorify God through technology. And I think that anything that allows us to see the beauty in creation can do that, whether it's using these really fascinating means of technology for agriculture or, using them when, focusing on taking care of crops. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about these, and thank you so much for sharing them with us.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
I put a link to one Penn State faculty member that you might be interested in. This really incredible work as well. But no, great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.